Question 1. A software-based diagnostic tool running on a hospital network flags abnormal radiology images. Under EU regulations, is this software classified as a medical device? And what is its classification risk class? Consider Regulation (EU) 2017-745 and associated classification rules, particularly Rule 11 for software. A. Not a medical device. It doesn't directly intervene clinically. B. Medical device, Class I, low risk because it's advisory. C. Medical device, Class IA, moderate risk because it informs clinical decisions. D. Medical device, Class III, high risk since it diagnoses disease. Correct answer, C. Medical device Class IA. Explanation. Under MDR Rule 11, software intended to support diagnostic decisions is at least Class IA. It's a medical device, not just advisory. It's not Class I or III absent direct life support. Question 2. For a combination product comprising a drug-eluting stent, both a device and a medicinal product, what regulatory strategy ensures simultaneous approval in the US FDA and EU EMA MDR? Explain pre-market submission routes, PMA, CE mark, and drug regulatory submissions, NDA, BLA, MAA. A. Submit 510K in US plus CE mark for MDR plus IND NDA for drug. B. PMA in US plus CE mark for MDR plus NDA MAA for drug. C. De novo request in US plus notified body approval plus NDA. D. PMA plus notified body consultation plus BLA plus MAA. Correct answer, B. PMA in US plus CE mark for MDR plus NDA MAA for drug. Explanation. Drug-eluting stents require PMA in US and CE mark via notified body in EU, plus NDA BLA in US and MAA in EU. De novo is for novel devices, not combos. Question 3. A manufacturer wants to implement Unique Device Identification, UDI, in Canada, following Health Canada and aligning with FDA and EU rules. Which key elements must be covered under Canada's UDI policy Est. 2021, and how should they map to ISO standards, ISO 13485, ISO 15459-1. A. Device identifier only, use any code of choice. B. Device identifier plus production identifier, vendor assigns format. C. Device identifier plus production identifier plus issuer code. Use standardized GS1 ISO AIs. D. Only asset tracking, no linkage to expiration or lot. Correct answer, C. Device identifier plus production identifier plus issuer code. Use standardized GS1 ISO AIs. Explanation. Health Canada's UDI policy requires DI, PI, and recognized issuer format, GS1 HIBC, per Global Harmonization Task Force, aligned to ISO. Question 4. Under U.S. FDA 21 CFR Part 803, a Class II medical device manufacturer learns of a malfunction that could cause serious harm. What are the firm's obligations and timelines for medical device reporting, MDR? A. Report within 30 days and maintain record for 3 years. B. Report within 5 calendar days and recall device immediately. C. Report within 30 calendar days. File supplement within 5 if death/S serious injury. D. No report needed if it's a near miss. Correct answer. A. Report within 30 days and maintain record for 3 years. Explanation. U.S. MDR rule. Serious malfunctions, serious injuries must be reported within 30 days. Records kept 2 years. Question 5. Which elements must be included in a combination product's design dossier for CE mark? as per EU MDR Annex II and III, to ensure compliance with device and medicinal aspects. A. Device quality files only, drug parts submitted separately in MAA. B. Full device risk analysis and clinical evaluation, summary of drug quality dossier. C. Only drug CMC documents, device part exempt. D. Clinical data only, technical device file deferred post-approval. Correct answer. B. Full device risk analysis and clinical evaluation, summary of drug quality dossier. Explanation. EU MDR requires design dossier including risk management, ISO 14971, device clinical evaluation and summaries of medicinal product, CMC, pharmacology. Question 6. A global clinical trial is planned in 3 countries with varying regulations on informed consent, including face-to-face and electronic consent options. According to ICH E6, R2, and GDPR, what are the key requirements for using electronic informed consent, e-consent? A. Only participant-typed name and date needed. B. E-consent platform must track version audit trail, ensure comprehension, and secure e-signatures. C. Oral confirmation via phone call is sufficient. D. Consent can be waived for minimal risk using e-consent. Correct answer. B. E-consent platform must track version audit trail, ensure comprehension, and secure e-signatures. Explanation. ICH E6, R2 requires audit trail, clarity, voluntariness. GDPR needs data protection and explicit consent. Question 7. In a phase III randomized oncology trial, an investigator grossly deviates from protocol by enrolling participants outside eligibility and without consent documentation. According to GCP and ICH E6, what sponsor actions are required? A. Proceed, monitor later. B. Notify IRB IAC, inform regulator e.g., FDA, EMA, halt enrollment, audit data integrity, implement CAPA. C. Drop the subjects only. D. Only change protocol and continue. Correct answer. B. Notify IRB IAC, inform regulator e.g., FDA, EMA, halt enrollment, audit data integrity, implement CAPA. Explanation. Serious GCP violations require immediate notification, data review, CAPA, regulatory reporting, e.g., Form 483, per ICH E6. Question 8. A sponsor wants to publicly share interim safety data on social media for a heart failure trial. Under clinical trial disclosure best practices and EMA FDA guidance, what is the proper approach? A. Post detailed unblinded data to improve transparency. B. Share blinded summaries with caution statement and context, pre-reviewed by disclosure policies. C. No disclosure allowed until all data are final. D. Only share to investors, not public. Correct answer. B. Share blinded summaries with caution statement and context, pre-reviewed by disclosure policies. Explanation. EMA FDA accept public blinded interim summaries with context, avoiding unblinded data to maintain trial integrity. Question 9. In a global clinical trial with digital remote monitoring devices, what steps are necessary to ensure data integrity and reliability consistent with ICH E6, R2, and ALCOA principles? A. Capture raw signals and delete them after summary. B. Timestamp data entries, secure audit trail, validate devices per manufacturer's validation plan. C. Rely on participant app entries without QC. D. Host data on public cloud without encryption. Correct answer. B. Timestamp data entries, secure audit trail, validate devices per manufacturer's validation plan. Explanation. ALCOA attributable, legible, contemporaneous, original, accurate, device validation, data security per ICH E6, R2. Question 10. A mid-sized pharma company plans to launch in 5 countries. What essential elements should its regulatory intelligence, RI, system include to support strategy per best practice? A. Only pricing and reimbursement data. B. Emerging regulations, submission timelines, comparators, health authority guidance, competitor actions. C. Just competitor products in pipeline. D. Only patent expiration dates. Correct answer. B. Emerging regulations, submission timelines, comparators, health authority guidance, competitor actions. Explanation. Comprehensive RI covers policy, timelines, regulatory changes, competitor dossiers, per DIA and Regulatory Affairs Society guidelines. Question 11. The EU MDR includes a rolling deadline for re-certifying notified bodies. A company references its device under an older MDD certificate expiring in May 2024. What are the implications, and how does RI monitoring help? A. No effect until HQ decides. B. Device must transition to MDR certification before expiry. RI enables early planning and audits. C. Just register under MDD again. D. Extend certificate administratively. Correct answer. B. Device must transition to MDR certification before expiry. RI enables early planning and audits. Explanation. EU MDR transition deadlines enforce MDR compliance. RI identifies deadlines and supports preparedness. Question 12. With the U.S. FDA's newly proposed AI transparency draft guidance, what should be included in a regulatory intelligence report to internal stakeholders? A. Just link to draft guidance. B. Summary of requirements, algorithm documentation, bias testing, transparency disclosures, IDE impacts, comment deadlines. C. Only mention potential cost increases. D. Ignore draft, wait for final. Correct answer. B. Summary of requirements, algorithm documentation, bias testing, transparency disclosures, IDE impacts, comment deadlines. Explanation. RI must identify new obligations, implications, comment windows, and cross-reference to similar FDA guidances. Question 13. Dr. Alvarez, leading a biotech trial in Japan and Australia, learns that PMDA requires packaging inserts to include local language abuse/lex text, while Australian TGA requires different disclaimers for pediatric use. Submissions are finalized. What should Dr. Alvarez do next to ensure national compliance without delaying global launch? A. Publish only English version. Handle local languages post-approval. B. Amend labeling regionally. File regional variations before approval. Notify authorities. Align PIL content. C. Withdraw submissions. Prepare fresh region-specific files. D. Ignore differences. Rely on global template. Correct answer. B. Amend labeling regionally. File regional variations before approval. Notify authorities. Align PIL content. Explanation. National labeling differences require region-specific submissions variations pre-approval, guided by ICH Q9 and local health authority expectations. Question 14. How does the FDA's Breakthrough Therapy Designation, BTD, differ from EMA's PRIME scheme regarding evidentiary standards and regulatory interaction? A. Both identical in criteria and benefits. B. BTD requires preliminary clinical evidence of substantial improvement. EMA PRIME focuses on unmet need with early data. Both enable earlier FDA-EMA interaction and rolling reviews. C. PRIME is faster but less rigorous than BTD. D. BTD only for small molecules, prime only for biologics. Correct answer. B. BTD requires preliminary clinical evidence of substantial improvement. EMA prime focuses on unmet need with early data. Both enable earlier FDA-EMA interaction and rolling reviews. Explanation. BTD demands robust early evidence. Prime emphasizes unmet medical need. Both enable early dialogue, accelerated assessments, FDA, RTOR, EMA, accelerated review. Question 15. A company is preparing to market a software as a medical device, SA-MD, in both the US and EU. The software performs ECG analysis and provides diagnostic insights. What is a critical regulatory consideration to ensure global compliance for this product? A. Only FDA 510(k) clearance is needed for both markets. B. Must classify and submit independently in US and EU using their own frameworks, with clinical evidence and cybersecurity documentation. C. CE marking based on US FDA approval is acceptable. D. All SA-MD are Class I devices globally. Correct answer. B. Must classify and submit independently in US and EU using their own frameworks, with clinical evidence and cybersecurity documentation. Explanation. SA-MD classification differs. FDA uses risk-based 510(k)/de novo/PMA. EU applies MDR Rule 11. Both require standalone technical files and clinical evidence. Question 16. Ms. Tanaka, a regulatory professional at a Japanese biotech firm, is preparing a PMDA consultation for a combination product with a biologic and device component. The company has never worked with PMDA before. What should she prioritize to ensure a successful outcome during the initial formal consultation? A. Submit only device data, assuming PMDA will ignore the biologic. B. Bring comprehensive Q&A dossiers, device-biologic interaction data, and clear regulatory pathway questions. C. Focus on pricing strategy, not science. D. Skip consultation and proceed directly to filing. Correct answer. B. Bring comprehensive Q&A dossiers, device-biologic interaction data, and clear regulatory pathway questions. Explanation. PMDA's formal consultation process is crucial for combination products. It requires clear pre-meeting dossiers and scientific questions aligned with their expectations. Question 17. In a multi-center trial, the sponsor is notified that one investigator site was not following good clinical practice, GCP, regarding informed consent updates. What immediate action is required based on ICH E6 and regulatory expectations? A. Wait until the trial ends to address it. B. Conduct a focused audit, report deviation, reconsent subjects if possible, implement CAPA. C. Remove investigator from study and destroy all data. D. Ignore if no subject was harmed. Correct answer. B. Conduct a focused audit, report deviation, reconsent subjects if possible, implement CAPA. Explanation. Deviations from informed consent processes must be addressed promptly, with audits, documentation, and potential subject reconsent per GCP and ethics guidelines. Question 18. Under EMA's vigilance reporting guidelines for medical devices, when must a notified body be involved in post-market surveillance, PMS, activities for a Class III implantable device? A. Only at time of CE marking. B. Continually during post-market phase, especially in PSUR and periodic audits. C. Never. PMS is only sponsor's duty. D. Only if sales exceed a certain volume. Correct answer. B. Continually during post-market phase, especially in PSUR and periodic audits. Explanation. MDR Article 8386 requires continuous notified body oversight in PMS, including review of PSURs and PMS plans for Class III devices. Question 19. Dr. Oliveira, a clinical investigator in Brazil, receives an updated investigator's brochure, IB mid-study, that includes new SAE data. His ethics committee is delayed in reviewing amendments. What should Dr. Oliveira do to maintain GCP compliance and protect subjects? A. Implement changes immediately without IRB review. B. Hold enrollment of new subjects. Notify sponsor and wait for EC/IRB approval before implementing changes. C. Disregard IB changes since they're minor. D. Replace the IB with a summary to speed up the process. Correct answer. B. Hold enrollment of new subjects. Notify sponsor and wait for EC/IRB approval before implementing changes. Explanation. GCP requires ethics approval before implementing safety-related updates. Enrollment should pause if risk profile changes and EC review is pending. Question 20. What key feature distinguishes regulatory intelligence, RI, from standard regulatory knowledge or compliance tracking? A. RI is purely legal surveillance. B. RI involves strategic application of evolving global regulatory trends, competitor benchmarking, and guidance interpretation to inform business decisions. C. RI is only relevant during submission phases. D. RI is a summary of regulatory authority websites. Correct answer. B. RI involves strategic application of evolving global regulatory trends, competitor benchmarking, and guidance interpretation to inform business decisions. Explanation. RI is a strategic function, combining surveillance, analysis, and interpretation to guide global planning and anticipate authority behavior. Question 21. In clinical trials, how does the EU Clinical Trial Regulation, CTR, 536/2014 differ significantly from the older Directive 2001/20/EC? A. CTR requires country-by-country submissions. B. CTR centralizes submissions via EU CTIS, harmonizes timelines, improves transparency, and mandates registration and results disclosure. C. CTR eliminates ethics committee review. D. CTR shortens all trial durations. Correct answer. B. CTR centralizes submissions via EU CTIS, harmonizes timelines, improves transparency, and mandates registration and results disclosure. Explanation. CTR replaces fragmented national processes with a centralized system, CTIS, harmonizes approval timelines, and mandates transparency of results. Question 22. Mr. Mueller, a regulatory manager at a European medtech firm, is overseeing UDI implementation globally. He notices discrepancies in how production identifiers PI are handled in Canada versus EU. What must he do to ensure proper global compliance? A. Apply EU rules globally for simplicity. B. Customize UDI components for each region and register in relevant databases, GUDID, EUDAMED, Health Canada. C. Remove PI and just use DI. D. Ignore Canada until post-market phase. Correct answer. B. Customize UDI components for each region and register in relevant databases, GUDID, EUDAMED, Health Canada. Explanation. UDI systems have regional variations, FDA, EU MDR, Health Canada. Global compliance requires tailoring to each jurisdiction's rules and data submissions. Question 23. In FDA-regulated trials, when is a Development Safety Update Report, DSUR, required, and how does it differ from an IND annual report? A. DSUR is optional and replaces annual report. B. DSUR aligns with ICH E2F. IND annual report is US specific and DSUR is global, often submitted in parallel. C. DSUR and IND report are identical documents. D. DSUR is only for biologics. Correct answer. B. DSUR aligns with ICH E2F. IND annual report is US specific and DSUR is global, often submitted in parallel. Explanation. DSUR follows ICH E2F for global trials. FDA requires IND annual reports. Often both are submitted with overlapping content but in different formats. Question 24. What is the primary purpose of comparative regulatory analysis in a global regulatory strategy? A. Compare healthcare systems only. B. Identify fastest route to market and regulatory risks per country. C. Focus on regulatory fees. D. Evaluate only product patent timelines. Correct answer. B. Identify fastest route to market and regulatory risks per country. Explanation. Comparative analysis identifies submission pathways, risk levels, data requirements, and supports strategic decision-making for market entry. Question 25. Dr. Chandra is managing a Phase II vaccine trial in India and receives a CDSCO notice requiring SAE submission within 14 days. The CRO claims this is not mandatory. What should Dr. Chandra do? A. Ignore the CDSCO and follow global sponsor timelines. B. Immediately submit SAE reports within 14 days. As per local law, escalate CRO noncompliance. C. Send to ethics committee only. D. Wait for site investigator to handle it. Correct answer. B. Immediately submit SAE reports within 14 days as per local law, escalate CRO noncompliance. Explanation. CDSCO mandates SAE reporting within 14 days for investigational products. Local law overrides global timelines. CRO noncompliance must be addressed. Question 26. Which of the following is a key characteristic of a successful regulatory intelligence (RI) function in a global pharmaceutical company? A. Reactive tracking of health authority letters. B. Proactive monitoring, cross-functional sharing, horizon scanning, integration into decision-making. C. Compliance audits only. D. Limited to filing dates. Correct answer. B. Proactive monitoring, cross-functional sharing, horizon scanning, integration into decision-making. Explanation. RI is most effective when proactive, cross-functional, and embedded into early planning and decision-making. Question 27. What is the impact of EU MDR's Article 120 transitional provisions for legacy devices certified under MDD? A. Devices are automatically converted to MDR. B. Devices can continue under MDD until latest May 2027 if conditions are met. C. MDD-certified devices are banned immediately. D. There are no transitional provisions. Correct answer. B. Devices can continue under MDD until latest May 2027 if conditions are met. Explanation. MDR Article 120 allows legacy devices to remain on market under certain conditions, e.g., vigilance, PMS compliance, until 2027 deadlines. Question 28. Ms. Farley is overseeing a digital health app being launched globally. It includes patient monitoring, medication tracking, and dosage alerts. What must she do to ensure regulatory compliance in major markets? A. Market immediately under Wellness App exemption. B. Conduct jurisdiction-specific regulatory assessments. SA-MD classification, cybersecurity standards, FDA, MDR, TGA, PMDA, and privacy compliance, GDPR HIPAA. C. Launch under consumer tech regulations only. D. File a global patent. Correct answer. B. Conduct jurisdiction-specific regulatory assessments. SA-MD classification, cybersecurity standards, FDA, MDR, TGA, PMDA, and privacy compliance, GDPR, HIPAA. Explanation. Digital health tools may be regulated as medical devices. SA-MD classification, cybersecurity validation, and data privacy are essential across jurisdictions. Question 29. Why is horizon scanning an essential component of regulatory intelligence? A. To look for outdated products. B. To anticipate future regulatory requirements, new guidances, and identify strategic opportunities threats. C. Only to scan for new competitors. D. Only for internal marketing. Correct answer. B. To anticipate future regulatory requirements, new guidances, and identify strategic opportunities threats. Explanation. Horizon scanning helps identify evolving policy landscapes, draft guidances, and prepares companies for regulatory changes. Question 30. A company operating in both US and EU wants to harmonize its device labeling. Which major challenge should it expect in this effort? A. Labeling is identical in both regions. B. Diverging format content requirements, USPI vs SMPC/IFU. Languages, UDI placement and QR code use. C. FDA and EMA use a shared portal. D. Labels only require batch number. Correct answer. B. Diverging format content requirements, USPI vs SMPC/IFU. Languages, UDI placement, and QR code use. Explanation. Labeling varies by region. FDA uses USPI, EU mandates SMPC/PIL. Language, UDI format, and content scope differ significantly.